as we speak, Beijing is employing a whole-of-government approach, using political, economic, and military tools as well as propaganda to advance its influence and benefit its interests in the United States.
And I have wanted to welcome back to Arkansas Chairman Chu. Please give Chairman Chu a round of applause.
China is also applying this power in more proactive ways than ever before to exert influence and interfere in the domestic policy and politics of this country.
Chairman Chu, I got to know as he is the CEO and chairman of Shandong Ruyi Technology Group out of Shandong Province.
Over the past 17 years, China's GDP has grown ninefold. It's become the second largest economy in the world. Much of this success was driven by American investment in China. And the Chinese Communist Party has also used an arsenal of policies inconsistent with free and fair trade, including tariffs, quotas, currency manipulation, forced technology transfer, intellectual property theft, and industrial subsidies that are handed out like candy to foreign investment.
We've been to Shandong Province a number of times since I've been governor. We've called on people, and Chairman Chu gave us the opportunity to meet with him at Ruyi, at their technology group there in Shandong, and saw his incredible facility. We asked him to visit Arkansas. He did. So Chairman Chu, we're delighted to have you here. I'm excited about signing this agreement with you, and I welcome you to Arkansas.
These policies have built Beijing's manufacturing base at the expense of its competitors, especially the United States of America.
And I wanted to recognize Chairman Lee to my right, who is the founder of Sun Paper of Shandong Province.
All right, folks,
in China.
Here we go. Welcome back to the program. Okay, we finally, I think, got things figured out, so just bear with us here. We are glad that you are with us. Just know that we can't do the show without you. And we have Tim Loggins with us. Tim, are you still there, sir?
Yes, sir, I am, Paul. Good morning.
Okay. So let's talk. Let's give people the news real quick. A lot of people are just joining us. A lot of people are just figuring this out because we've had a complete internet, an internet provider outage, just a complete blackout, took out our phones, took out everything. Yesterday, with the score, let me give you the score. Hang on. The score, or the Senate vote breakdown, they had 24 senators affirm Senator Scott Flippo's resolution to clarify gun rights. One more time, Tim, tell us what that means.
Paul, we followed a resolution in the House and the Senate. They were mirror resolutions, and what they did is they affirmed that Arkansas is a constitutional carry state with no permit required to carry a weapon concealed or unconcealed. Now both chambers have spoken. They've spoken loudly. The law says what it says. You don't need a permit to carry in Arkansas. It's a great day for Arkansas.
Yeah, it really is. It's something to celebrate. Now, the second question, I know we just went over this, but again, we have new listeners. So the second question is, the Attorney General, in her response to the question, in her opinion, that Linda Collins-Smith, former senator, asked her about, is there a penalty for carrying a handgun without a concealed weapons permit? And she answered that and said, no, there's not. In the first lines of her sentence, should have ended the opinion right there. But then she went on to say, but the legislature needs to clarify Act 746 in this whole situation. The legislature has just done that.
Absolutely, Paul, and I call upon the Attorney General to issue an opinion or an addendum to that opinion stating that we're constitutional carry. She asked for legislative clarity. The legislature has given it to her. They've spoken loudly. No permit required. In the Jamie Taft versus Arkansas case, affirmed that at the appellate level. So, this is case law. This is the law in Arkansas, and everyone needs to be aware of that.
So, what are your thoughts on this other bill that has kind of stalled, 1693? I know there's a competing resolution in the Senate now to try to eliminate gun-free zones. Because in the wake of this massive victory that we need to celebrate, that Arkansas is a constitutional carry state, owning weapons or possessing weapons is decriminalized in this state. Burden of proof is really, really high if you're going to, be convicted of a possession of a weapon. This gun-free zone thing is an issue of public safety because that's where all these mass killings happen. What's the update on that, Tim?
It's HB 1694 by Representative Richard Womack. It's still alive, Paul. I would say it's hanging on life support. I find it amazing that we have a Republican supermajority. And the House Judiciary Committee cannot get the votes to pass it. There were 5 representatives that were not on board with this bill, and that's why it didn't run. Senator Gary Stubblefield has filed a sister bill in the Senate, and he hasn't run it because Senator Jim Hendren has not indicated that he would support the bill. And so what we're doing is we're fighting Republicans. I've spoken to many of these representatives and senators privately, and some of them don't think Arkansas is ready for this yet. Some think it's too controversial, and I find that amazing given some of the bills that have been passed out of committee this session that are truly controversial. And the fact that people have a right to defend themselves, as our Constitution says, is controversial, some of them. Mm-hmm. I'm hopeful that, Representative Spencer Hawks and Representative Maddox can come on board with it. If they'll come on board with it, we can run it in the House Tuesday. I hope that Senator Jim Hendry can come on board with it because we can run it, tomorrow, if you will.
Yeah.
That's where we're at on it. I mean, the bill is still viable. It's still alive. We just need 1 or 2 Republicans to recognize the Republican platform. It's that simple.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And some of them are coming around on, other issues on the platform like school choice. There's a good bill. We're going to talk about that in the next hour with Senator Blake Johnson. But, I agree with you. I think, you also have on that committee there Representative Stan Berry, who's in our listening area. I think he's from Dover. And so, he's listening on KERV. Out of Pope County in that area there. So, he needs to come on board as well. It's pretty. Here's the thing. I don't understand this, Tim, about this gun-free zones bill. And I don't understand, there's still carve-outs in there for, places that you can't, that'll still be gun-free zones. But they're actually not gun-free zones because you got armed security that's already there, like a courthouse or a prison. So, what's the problem here? I mean, we're still, we still have some of these exemptions. Why can't we go further?
Paul, Representative Womack been over backwards to meet with everyone that had a dog in the hunt, and we made every possible carve-out that still kept the bill alive in its intent. There's been folks saying that now this would open it up to schools and carrying guns inside of school buildings. That's not true. Courtrooms, that's not true. Prisons, jails, that's not true. What it does is, Paul, any place that the government can't guarantee your safety, they're saying, hey, you have a right to carry a weapon. Mm-hmm. That's all we're trying to do with this. Mm-hmm. And it's a good bill. It's a very good bill that returns liberty back to Arkansas. And by the way, Representative Charlene Fire, Representative House, Representative Stan Berry, if them or Spencer Hawks or Maddox, if they would come on board, any 2 of them, we can run that tomorrow in Judiciary. There's 5 Republicans on the House Judiciary that have indicated they can't support it for whatever reason. Now, they're doing the political speak saying, well, we want to see the bill run before we comment. That's not true. Privately, they're saying, hey, I'm a no vote. Well, if it's a no vote and it's going to fail, there's no point in running it.
Correct.
They're not open to it. They're saying on the front end, they're not open to it. Representative Fide, I call upon you. Stand up for principles and freedom. Representative House, stand up for principles and freedom. It's that simple.
Yeah. Well, I will tell you this. In light of the Patriots VAC 746 and what you guys have done and how determined you've been to get the establishment, I mean, because you guys are a grassroots group that for 5 years has been meeting with folks, had been telling people what the law is, what people won't acknowledge that it is. And here we are. We had the House pass the resolution. The Senate passed. I mean, I guess what you guys have truly done, Tim, is move the Overton window on the Second Amendment here in Arkansas on constitutional carry. So I will just say, to me, I think it's only a matter of time before you guys, and maybe it's not this session, but before you guys have more success at moving, that opinion, letting the legislators know what the public think of gun-free zones. I mean, honestly, it should be how many more people, how many more tragedies have to happen where, you're just allowing people to be defenseless sheep,
Well, it's pretty simple. Criminals don't follow the law. And whenever you have a place that you're telling law-abiding citizens they can't carry, the criminals know it. And they disregard it, and that is nothing but a killing zone. This is a law that needs to pass, and it needs to pass now. We've got people that are victims that shouldn't be victims, and it's our government's fault. And by the way, it violates the Republican platform principles.
Yeah.
It really is that simple. We got a Republican supermajority. We just need Republicans to step up and act like Republicans.
Yep.
If you believe in gun rights, don't election time, don't come and tell me, hey, I support the Second Amendment. If you can't support HB 1694, you don't support the Second Amendment. It's that simple.
Yeah, 1694. I keep messing up with the bill number. So it's HB 1694. There's a Senate bill too. Senator Gary Stubblefield has filed it. Anyway, and we've got a story up there at conduitnews.com if you want to know more specifics on that. Tim, tell me about the influence you believe Moms Demand Action has. Now, that Moms Demand Action, remind everybody who Moms Demand Action is.
Moms Demand Action, they're a group funded by George Soros and those kind of people. They're really about confiscating guns and removing your right to carry weapons. They say otherwise, but their actions speak louder than their words. Moms Demand Action is fairly vocal, but it's a small number of folks here in Arkansas. They don't carry the weight of the people or the people's opinion in Arkansas. And Paul, they're being given more credibility than what they deserve because of the makeup of these committees in the House and the Senate. Moms Demand Action is able to celebrate this kind of stuff because you got Republicans not living up to their platform. They're voting with the liberal, with the progressives. They're siding with them over and over again.
Yeah.
And Moms Demand Action, they've got 2,000 or 3,000 folks in Arkansas. Patriots Act 746 has almost 18,000. So when you want to talk about grassroots numbers, there's no comparison. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, we got folks that say, hey, I support the Second Amendment, but... Yep. And that butt is where we're stuck at.
Yeah. Yeah, and a lot of people, even if you're a Republican, the tendency is to not see guns as tools, but to see them as, as the problem, not the heart of men. We've talked about that before. Now I understand the Patriots Act 746. They have a meeting in Conway this weekend. Is that right?
That is correct. I don't have the address of where the meeting's at. It's going to start around 12 o'clock. We've invited federal legislators. I know Senator Mark Johnson's going to attend. We've invited Representative Spencer Hawks. Paul, it's all about interacting with our elected folks, letting them hear the people. Your listeners in the Little Rock area, come on out to Conway, and we'll get that posted on the exact address on where it's going to be at. But come on out to Conway and put your elected officials and talk to them and tell them what you believe.
Yeah. No, I agree. And if you've never been to a Patriots of Act 746 meeting, let me just tell you, you need to go because, man, is it great? It's always a lot of fun, a lot of great information, and I would encourage everybody to go out there and attend. Tim Loggins, it's always great to have you on, sir. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you, Paul. I appreciate this opportunity to educate the citizens of Arkansas.
Yeah, absolutely. And you be safe, sir. And so folks, the Patriots of Act 746, I want to remind you guys, they are on a mission to educate the citizens of Arkansas about your gun rights. And if you want to know more, matter of fact, if you want to get the date of when that meeting is going to be, when and where in Conway, what better what better reason than to go to the Facebook page? So you're going to go to facebook.com, and then you're going to search in the search bar Patriots of Act 746. I imagine if you just search Patriots of Act, it's going to come up. And then you're going to ask to be a member of the group. So it's a closed group of 17,000 people. And so they are patriots who want to know what the information is surrounding gun rights and really liberty in general. But specifically here, 746 was a law passed in 2013, and it decriminalized the possession of firearms. I get text all the time from people who say, I heard you on the show. Are you serious? I heard you on the show this morning. Are you serious that this is you don't have to have a permit to conceal carry or open carry here in the state of Arkansas? And it's still news to a lot of people, and that's why Patriots is out there. That's why they're doing what they're doing, and so you certainly want to check them out. Now, coming up at 7:33, we'll be talking with Senator Blake Johnson about school choice. Now, this is a bill that the left is freaking out over, and you have some Republicans that are stepping up saying, you know what, this is something that's on the platform, right? And so we want to highlight when there are good ideas. This is also a bill that, by the way, that Governor Asa Hutchinson supports. So we want to highlight the fact that Governor Asa Hutchinson is supporting school choice, and that this is a good bill, that's being run in the House by State Representative Ken Bragg. This is a good bill. And so we're going to talk to Senator Johnson about this. We're going to talk to him about, why he wanted to run it this way. And, of course, this is only dealing with Pulaski County, so it's a 5-year pilot program that would allow money to be used for kids to go to private schools. School choice used to be about, bipartisan reconciliation or coming together from both sides, because we recognize that there's something not right. Or I would just say there's just a lack of perfection in our public school systems, right? And there's always going to be a lack of perfection because we're talking about man-made systems, right? But that doesn't mean you shouldn't work towards the ideal of perfection, because in that process, sometimes you actually do make things better. And so right now we have kind of this one-size-fits-all educational system. I call it the educational industrial complex, specifically because you've got more and more people realizing that you can make a lot of money off of this idea of just throw more money at the problem, throw more money at the schools. And if you disagree with that, then you're against the kids. In reality, you're against this massive complex of superintendents and listen, and you might even say the unions, even though it may be not official in Arkansas. Anyway, we'll talk more about this today and tomorrow, and so it's a pretty big deal in my opinion. I think it's a big deal. Now, obviously, we've got more news to get to. Now, I have been telling you over the last month or so about State Representative John Payton. State Representative John Payton has a great bill. It's a fantastic bill, and it has to do with raising the exemption, the tax exemption when you go buy a used vehicle from $3,900 to $7,500, meaning you wouldn't pay sales tax on a used vehicle if it was less than $500. That's fantastic. That's going to save a lot of people a lot of money. But it's going to cost the state $12 million, they say. And listen to this. They're going to act like $12 million is a lot of money. It's a lot of money to us, but it's not a lot of money. Not in terms of the state. They want you to think, well, there's no way we can absorb that. Yeah, actually, there is a way. The Governor Hutchinson, I disagree with some of his comments, especially those reported in the Gazette today. I think they're misleading. I think they actually prey on the ignorance of the voters when it comes to how budgeting is done in the state of Arkansas down in the Marble Palace in Little Rock. And I'll tell you about that coming up when we come back from break here. But the bottom line is this. The House of Representatives yesterday held up appropriation bills and voted them down because they want the governor to support this bill of John Payton's that has like 90 co-sponsors. It passed out of the House last week with 83 yes votes out of 100. and the governor doesn't support it. Now, in the past, when by the way, this $12 billion figure, I'm pretty sure that the veterans' tax cuts without the sales tax increases on candy and soda and digital downloads was going to cost the state about $12 million. And the governor famously said that that's not conservative, that just to absorb that into the budget is not conservative, which just shows you that he has a different definition of what being a fiscal conservative is, right? Everything has got to maintain the revenue coming into government, in spite of the fact that the government continues to get more and more revenue from us every year because of positive economic growth. In spite of the fact that we continue spending more and more and more every year, we can't absorb $12 million. In general, and I don't think anybody would dispute this, on the right or the left. Now, people in the middle on the right might be upset about this because they know that the base would be upset about this. But in general, I don't think it's I don't think this is even in dispute. Governor Asa Hutchinson's entire administration has been predicated on the idea that there is nothing budgetary-wise to cut, that there is not the state of Arkansas. Now, we're up against a hard break. We're going to take a break and a reset here. We got one more hour coming your way next.
This is News Talk 101.3 FM and 1230 AM KBTM Jonesboro, an EAB radio station.
It's Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell.
All right, welcome back, folks. Good morning to you. Thanks so much for being with us. We're going to get to some Arkansas news here in a little bit. That they won't cut spending. They keep raising our taxes. It's pretty frustrating. But we're going to stick with this national news because it's No Collusion Day. So happy No Collusion Day once again, everybody out there. Some might argue it was yesterday, but, whatever. Let's make it a two-day holiday, right? I want to welcome to the program. We have political analyst John Michael Chambers is on the line. He is an author of a book called Trump and the Resurrection of America. John, welcome, sir. How are you?
I'm great. How are you? Good morning.
Good morning. Now, I understand you were a talk radio host at one point.
Way back in the day, yes, in Tampa Bay area.
Wow. Well, that's fantastic. It's always good to have a fellow talker on the program. So, John, tell us about your book. Why'd you want to write this book, Trump and the Resurrection of America?
Well, I was in Asia at the time for a couple of years, actually, watching things unfold. And I had written in a previous book in 2015. There was a segment in there that stated that I believe the most unlikely person in our hour of need will arrive for the leadership we so desperately needed. And lo and behold, there I am in Thailand and watching President Trump come down the escalator. After a couple of speeches, that was it. I came back to the States, wrote the book, and I covered 8 states on a book signing speaking tour discussing the issues. So the reason is this is our chance to resurrect America. We've been in a post-constitutional government to a greater or lesser extent for many years, and so I can't think of anything more important to do than this.
So, how do you think things have gone so far in this? President Trump, I feel like, has done a lot, and I think one of the reasons the left and the right, or the traditional Republican Democrat establishments, don't like him. We now know as Americans, I think it's undeniable that there is a deep state that exists, that is, that has contempt for the people in this country, specifically flyover country, if you don't, take that dogmatic view on the coastal elite subscribe to. So how's he doing so far?
Well, I mean, truth be told, the first 2 years is probably unprecedented by any president prior to President Trump. The accomplishments are enormous. PromisesKept.com is an official Trump Washington website that lists his accomplishments by category. I think he's done a phenomenal job, and with every gun, if you will, pointed at him from the deep state and its operatives. You may recall when Trump was a candidate, he said, "Hey, look, I'm not running against these opponents. I'm running against the media." This has been the biggest problem. The deep state they control the media to a large extent. So he's accomplished an enormous amount, not just in the economy, but all across the board, oftentimes not reported. And yesterday, of course, big day, biggest political scandal in U.S. history. And the conclusion, no collusion, no obstruction, and now the pendulum has shifted. This is a major shift in the Trump presidency.
Huge, and I think now it's his turn because we've had. I've interviewed Congressman Devin Nunes a couple weeks ago. Victor Davis Hanson was on, and this idea. When's he going to declassify all these FISA documents so we can actually see what was going on? And if he had done it before the Mueller report came out, it might have looked bad. There might have been bad optics there. But now I kind of feel like it's time. Let's show the American people what really happened.
You're absolutely right. And I speak to a lot of people out in these public speeches and such, and people in this country, particularly these Trump supporters, have been saying that, why doesn't the president declassify? Well, you just nailed it. There is a plan, and it may have backfired. I believe now, not necessarily this morning, but we've entered a phase now in this battle, and the president is going to begin the declassification, FISA, and other documents he has. I mean, after all, he is the president. He has all the goods on everyone. The NSA files, the emails, the phone calls, the texts, WikiLeaks reports, and FISA documents. So it's a game changer. The narrative is officially shifted, and the media, the mainstream media, has no credibility anymore, as far as I'm concerned.
They really don't, and I don't know what they're going to do. I was listening to another show, and there was a caller that was asking, is the mainstream media.
I think it's time we ask ourselves if we still know the freedoms that were intended for us by the Founding Fathers.
They seem to be in full-scale retreat from spending cuts and are talking about raising people's taxes again. And I have only one thing to say to the tax increasers. Go ahead, make my day.
If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. Those who would trade our freedom for security have embarked on this downward course. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves.
Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell is on now.
Yeah, so the House of Representatives, the Arkansas House of Representatives, trying to stand up to the governor and his opposition to passing tax, a tax cut for the folks out there who really need it, the hardworking Arkansans who are buying used vehicles. Have you heard about this? I heard about this as soon as it happened. The Arkansas Democrat-Gazette has heard about it as well. Their headline this morning from Hunter Field, used car bill leads to House standoff, protest hangs up budget measures. So essentially, the House Representatives yesterday, in order to send a message to the governor, really, to give his blessing and allow some of these senators to vote for, tax relief when it comes to buying used cars, they decided to hold up certain budget bills, meaning they voted them down. You got to have 75 votes to pass these things because of Amendment 19. I don't know. Maybe there's another workaround. We can do to get around Amendment 19. State Representative John Payton has a bill, 1342. It's a House priority. It passed 84-1. It's got 90 co-sponsors, and it would raise the exemption when you buy used vehicles from sales tax from $4,000 to $7,500. And it was let's see here. It's moving on to the Senate. And a lot of people think it's dead on arrival. I mean, people have been joking about this in the halls of the Marble Palace. They've been, around this column or that column. It's going to die. The governor doesn't support it because it's going to cost the government $12 million. Oh, it's so frustrating. So frustrating. I'll give my critique on that here in a minute. I want you to listen to a rarity, okay? This is a rarity where Elaine Jean, who is the budget chairman, and he's bringing these budget bills. Normally, this is just a rubber stamp process, and yet not this time. This time, you had enough Republicans hold together, and they killed these budget bills. Listen to this.
Services, and it says Medicaid expansion. That's not the Medicaid expansion you're thinking. That'll be in Senate Bill 99. This is only tobacco settlement money that goes to hospitals reimbursement. So this is not the Medicaid expansion for the Arkansas Works. There's a $1.6 million decrease. They have changed some services around in House Bill 1153, a $457,000 increase to take up some of that decrease in the first bill in House Bill 1154. And the appropriation for House Bill 1155 is $113 million. That has not changed from the prior year. Once again, but all that money is tobacco settlement money. Any questions, or do I need to pull any of these out of the batch? Seeing none, your one vote is for each one of the bills and the emergency clause. Mr. Speaker, have the clerk read the bill for the third time.
Mr. Clerk, read the bills for the third time.
House Bill 1153, House Bill 1154, House Bill 1155.
Prepare the machine, Mr. Clerk. Has everyone voted? Cast up the ballot, Mr. Clerk. With 51 yeas and 33 nays and 3 present, the bills have failed.
Okay, so that's the first one. You can stop there. So you hear the bills have failed. Now those those are some budgetary bills. The Department of Human Services. Okay, so then we had another vote shortly after that. Let me see which one this was. Hang on. This was SB 48, 138, 421, 429, 431. Let's go to the end of the. They say they batch all these together and vote them. That mean because that's how normally that's just as it shows you just as how this is a rubber stamp process. Okay, so they batch them together, and here, Joe, go ahead and play that that next cut whenever you're ready, sir.
431. This is a supplemental for the ABC. Now, we've just passed out of a budget $25,000 for travel for these agents to go get trained on how to implement the marijuana. That's for next year. This will be a supplemental for this year to be trained to know what they're looking for. If you want it, vote for it. If you don't, to heck with you. All right. Your one vote is for each one of the this bill and the emergency clause. Mr. Speaker, have the clerk read the bill for the third time.
Mr. Clerk, read the bill for the third time.
Senate Bill 431.
Representative Jean has explained the bill. Would anyone like to speak against the bill? For the bill? Representative Jean has left. He's explained the bill. The question before the House is the passage of Senate Bill 431. Prepare the machine, Mr. Clerk. Has everyone voted? Cast up the ballot, Mr. Clerk. With 36 yeas, 42 nays, and 2 present, the bill has failed.
So that doesn't happen very often. Okay, and you can kind of hear it there, right? So they're holding the House of Representatives, only 36 yes votes. The House of Representatives is holding up budget bills, standing up for their colleague, John Payton. Now, whether or not this is going to hold, I don't know. It may just be a little bit of, symbolism, just a little bit of pressure that's being applied. Of course, the Senate doesn't like it. I saw where Jonathan Dismang was like, well, if you got a problem, you can just pick up the phone and call us. Come on, Senator Dismang. It doesn't work like that. You know that. Or maybe we're not supposed to have our disagreements in public. That's what it is, right? We're supposed to have our disagreements in private. That's the way to legislate here in Arkansas. Well, I, for one, want to say thank you to the House Representatives. I want to thank the conservatives. I want to thank the Republicans who decided to kill these budget bills yesterday temporarily. You guys are embracing the power of the Arkansas State Constitution. This is the power that has been given to you by the people who voted for you. This is exactly why you're there. We have something called separate but equal branches of government in this state. And that means that the House can flex its muscles. The Senate can flex its muscles. It's part of the process. It's actually something, whether you agree with it or not, that should be celebrated because at least it's not one of these predetermined outcomes. This is an example of legislators legislating. Let me say that again. This is an example of legislators legislating, doing things, using their power to remind the other side and remind the governor's office, hey, listen, we control the purse strings in this state. And you might be able to get around Amendment 19 when it comes to passing new taxes, but you're not going to be able to get around Amendment 19 when it comes to spending. And I just want to thank you. We need to be grateful that this even happened. I mean, this is something to celebrate. This is something to highlight. And we need to tell our representatives that we're with them. And this is something so simple, too. You know, this is a $12 million hit to the state budget. In the context of this, $12 million, they have a highway plan where they're raising $415 million in taxes from you. They have an internet sales tax that's going to raise another, let me be conservative, that's going to raise another $150 million from you, the people. They've given you an income tax cut of $95 million, but you're not going to realize it until 2 years from now. They're trying to raise your tobacco taxes and vaping taxes 67% to get $100 million from you more. They're also trying to raise your taxes $16 million to fund 911 emergency services back at the county level. So they're raising all of this revenue. And they also have seen increases of over the last 4 years of $500 million increase in revenue. Okay, we're on pace, if we keep this up, over the 8 years of Governor Asa Hutchinson to see a budget increase, revenue increases, spending increases of $1 billion. And they want to tell you, Governor Asa Hutchinson wants to tell you that he doesn't support John Payton's bill to raise the exemption from $3,900 to $7,500 when you buy a used car, meaning you could go buy a used car for more and not pay sales tax on it. Well, that's going to cost us $12 million. We can't afford that $12 million. Give me a break. Give me a break. This entire administration, over 4 years and the next 4 years, there will be one objective truth. They have governed with task forces, and they have governed under the assumption that there is nothing that can be done to cut spending on state government. Those are the two things that really, I think, are just objective facts with this administration, that they will not concede. They're asking us to believe that there is nothing to cut, meaning that if we were to say, well, we need to cut 1% from each department. Well, no, we can't do that. We cannot do that, right? Well, we need to cut, what if we cut 0.5% from each department? We can't do that. I mean, that's preposterous. That's preposterous when you look at the size of Arkansas's government compared to our neighbors. Anyway, $12 million. Listen to what the governor says in the article today. Now, this is misleading, and I'll tell you how it's misleading here in just a moment. Let's see. Hutchinson, speaking to reporters on Monday, acknowledged that the bill would provide relief to hardworking Arkansans buying used cars, but he also noted the significant revenue hit. Now, I just went over the fact that it's not a significant revenue hit at all. $12 million may seem a lot to my household or your household, but to the state of Arkansas, it's nothing. Okay? This state runs on a $27 billion a year budget. No, not a $5 billion a year budget, but with the federal money that comes in, it's $27 billion. And I think that's a low estimate at this point. Quote, I have a difficult time with it when we don't have that covered on our budget. We've already done significant tax relief. Well, we won't see it for 2 years, even if it is significant, but I would argue that it's not significant, but we'll keep going. We've already done significant tax relief, the governor says, and there's a number of other bills that are still pending out there. At some point, we've got to say, we've got to balance this budget. That's my job, and that's what we'll be working on the next couple of weeks. Okay, so that's misleading. That's carefully crafted language. You don't have to balance the budget because we have something called the law, the Revenue Stabilization Act. Arkansas has a balanced budget amendment, which means if the tax money is not there, they cannot spend it. So if the $12 million doesn't come in, then you can't spend the $12 million. It's really simple. It's a double-edged sword. Well, or a catch-22, rather. I mean, it's good that we have the Revenue Stabilization Act. We've talked about this before. But it's also kind of bad because it means that they spend every bit of money they get, they spend. Even if they get more money, they get more revenue increases, that means they can spend it because, well, they're balancing the budget, right? There's no mandate to save. Now, it keeps us from going into debt, which is great, but it also highlights the fact that Arkansas's tax code is what drives spending. So if you lower the taxes and you give the government less money, by law, they just have to suck it up and deal with it. And that's something that is lost on a lot of people. The governor is counting on the fact that it's lost on you, and that's why he says, well, we've got to balance the budget. Yeah. I mean, the other day, legislators were outraged. They were telling me privately they couldn't believe the governor had said in the paper that the session needs to end because we've got to quit spending. When Governor Hutchinson is the problem in Arkansas when it comes to spending. He is the chief spender. You want to know the key driver of spending in Arkansas? It's our tax code and Governor Asa Hutchinson. We're going to take a break. That's just a fact. You can't argue with it at this point. I mean, look, the numbers don't lie. Okay? We're going to take a break. Back in a minute. You have any, do they have the clout that they once had? I mean, I think the answer is no, but we don't really know to what extent. And I think the 2020 presidential election will let us know. I think right now President Trump is on track to be reelected. That's why you have the Democrats wanting open borders. They want to redo the electoral college system, and they want to lower the voting age to 16. We're talking with John Michael Chambers. He's an author of the book Trump and the Resurrection of America. He's also author of a book, Surviving Global Governance. Tell us about that book, John.
Well, that book was jointly written by two friends of mine, economist Dr. Kirk Elliott and former hyperbaric officer for the Navy SEALs, good friend of mine who's since passed on, Dr. Richard Davis. I was actually in Asia at the time, going around through several countries when we wrote that. And I think it was back in 2013 or 14. I think 13 when we published that book.
From ASA News, The Parrot. China is coming to Arkansas. We go live to the press conference where the Communist Chinese executive is addressing Arkansans for the first time. Let's listen into the translator.
On behalf of the government of the People's Republic of China, we invite you to come and visit the newest named city in Arkansas, China, Delphia. We are very pleased to own an American city. Our communist government is proud to do business with the mediocre state of Arkansas. We are happy to take your money and your trees and send the profits back home. The Communist government of China was pleased to learn the taxpayers of Arkansas are excited to contribute their money with the hope, if you build it, one day jobs will come. We are excited to take your fields of capitalism and turn them into fields of communism, where every Arkansan has nightly dreams of Mao. China is looking forward to our investment of $1 billion in what is now called Arkansas. We see this as an investment in our future, and that future will be called New Beijing. Chinese investment will make Arkansas a great place for jobs, as the People's Republic of China will succeed where the Soviets failed. As we build our roots deep in Arkansas, we are thrilled with the potential new ideas and advancement we will share with our people back home. Soon we will have the world's largest runway in the South China Sea, and we thank Arkansas for contributing to our noble cause. In closing, once we make China great again, all of you will see the glory of the revolution of Mao. And Arkansas, whatever you do, please never call the FBI.
Paul Harrell, parody.
Determined to drain the swamp in Little Rock, it's Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell.
All right, broadcasting across the Shandong province. That I can't help it. Somebody on Facebook. Who said this? Who said this on Facebook? I can't. It's I'm having a hard time. Yeah, here we go. Woods on Facebook. Arkansas, the new Shandong province. Oh, that's fantastic. Notice, I mean, I did see something. I got to get a headline. Got to get this headline. I did see something in the news about China, Chinese-owned companies in Arkansas. But you know, ASA makes all these deals with these Chinese. You know, bringing, spending our money with China so they can. Well, you heard the parody. But I actually haven't, all those deals are really on hold right now because Donald Trump is not having any of it, at least right now with the trade war. You got FBI. They say they got investigations in all 50 states about the Chinese infiltration here. You got intellectual property theft like crazy. You got those guys that were indicted at a stud cart for the Chinese stealing our rice technology. I mean, it goes on and on and on. And then you got the forced technology transfers if you do business over in China. So it's a big deal. We've tried to do our best here to point out that it doesn't make any sense that you would do business with the Chinese like this. If we were giving our money to Russians to have them come here, people would be freaking out, wouldn't they? Right? Russia. Oh, by the way. Watching the left backpedal with no Russia collusion news it's not like a pastime now. It's like a sport. It's like a spectator sport. You have to watch it. What are they going to say now? Right? What are they going to well, they come up with something. You know, Rachel Maddow's out there saying no, actually he still obstructed justice. Well, how did he obstruct justice? And by the way, how does the president of the United States obstruct justice? My point is, if the president has done something that's illegal, then that's up to Congress. If you don't have the votes, sorry, you don't have the votes. Well, we'll have another election in 4 years. That's just kind of the way our system is. Or in the case of Richard Nixon, you had Republicans, members of his own party, walk across Capitol Hill and say, hey, man, you got to go. Right? I mean, there are other ways. These things tend to work themselves out. So, I mean, but I don't even know how you can have obstruction of justice if you're Donald Trump if there wasn't a crime that was actually committed. Like there was no collusion with Russia. By the way, I don't even know that the word collusion or collusion with Russia, that's not a that's not a legal term. That's not a crime like that you can cite to. Now you can cite to, being a traitor, treason. We can go there, but notice they never said that. Well, actually, John Brennan, the former head of the CIA, said that the president of the United States was a traitor. You had Rachel Maddow and others saying that he was an agent of Russia. This idea, it's really a conspiracy theory, quite honestly, that he's some sort of Manchurian candidate. Yeah, this New York billionaire, reality TV star Donald Trump, somehow a Manchurian candidate, but for Russia and the KGB. Oh, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It's really funny how disappointed people are. Some people are so disappointed that president is not a Russian agent because they just hate him that much. They're not happy that an American president is not a KGB agent, right? So now they're going to move on and say, well, he wasn't a KGB agent, fine, but he is a member of the KKK. Believe you me, New York billionaire. A New York billionaire is, he's pro-slavery and, he's a member of the KKK. Okay, all right, yeah, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. Okay, if you listen to the left's rhetoric about the president on race, you'd think you'd come from the deep South somewhere, right? The old Democrat-dominated Deep South. So, anyway, the phone number, 870-275-9799. It's 870-275-9799. Gene on Facebook writing, please don't use the three-letter word cut in the presence of Arkansas politicians. They break out in a cold sweat. Gene, you are right, sir. That is true. The three-letter word cut is pretty much like a four-letter word. In a church building, it's you don't want to say it. You don't want to do it. It's off limits. We're not going to talk about cutting government at all. That's just not what's going to happen. Hey, folks, coming up, we're going to be talking with Senator Blake Johnson here when we come back from break. More news on this used car situation. John Payton saying that the state revenue growth would easily offset the cost of the tax exemption, pointing out that the annual revenue growth of more than $100 million over the better half of a decade in the natural state would more than pay for the measly $12 million. Again, the governor's complaining about $12 million impact to the budget when they keep raising our taxes, getting more revenue from the people. It's just unbelievable. You'd think you'd want to. It would help their equation. It would help their math at the end of the day if they would take another $12 million hit.
And we saw what was coming. I mean, if you think about it, Clinton, Bush, and Obama, and particularly Obama, we were in trouble as a nation. And so that we didn't see a Donald Trump arriving on the scene to, do major course correction for us back to a constitutional republic. So we wrote the book Surviving Global Governance because that's, in fact, what we would have had to have done should we have continued on that trajectory. But thank goodness the lady in the pantsuit didn't get elected, and we have Donald Trump.
Yeah, the lady in the pantsuit, I think, needs to be worried at this point. I mean, come on. I mean, she and the Democrats, they funded essentially a dossier that was completely, salacious, inaccurate. Then it was used to spy on the Trump campaign. I mean, and that's just what we know. I think there's a lot more that we don't know, right? You think Hillary Clinton should be worried this morning?
Oh, I think, quite honestly, regardless of the media optics, Clinton's, Obama, and a long list of names all across the globe, quite frankly, are running for the hills. They're panicking, which is why we see this absurd insanity narratives that we see in terms of social platform, changing the votes to age 16, getting rid of the electoral college. They can't win fair and square, so they're trying to change the rules of the game. Trump, there isn't anybody, in my opinion, certainly the cast of characters that have decided to run now that can beat President Trump in 2020, fair and square. The deep state, and I call them, the deep state operatives, they're running for the hills. That's the way I see it, because they know Trump has everything on everybody, and it's going to turn around now through the declassification and other methods. But they'll continue with this false narrative. I mean, it's really they're imploding. The Art of War, the author Sun Tzu, right? The quote, he says, when your enemy is destroying themselves, just leave them alone. Let them have at it. And that's pretty much what the president has done for the past 2 years. But now, in my view, he's going to go on the offense and pluck them off one by one because, he's used the term illegal yesterday at the airport in Palm Beach before he flew out when the Mueller report, when Barr released the statement. And so that's a very big, important term. He doesn't throw these words around for no reason. Same thing when the 60-minute interview was done, the FBI, about a month ago, Trump tweeted the words coup against my administration, coup against me, coup d'etat against me. He used the word coup, and he used the word treason. Now, you don't make a digital media footprint using those words as the President of the United States unless you intend to follow through. Trump is the rule of law president.
Bringing you your daily dose of truth. It's Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell.
All right, folks, welcome back to the show. Thanks so much for being with us. Trying to raise Senator Blake Johnson. Not sure where he is right now at the moment. I'm sure he is. He's tied up, but we did have an interview scheduled, and so as soon as we know something from him, we will let you know. We wanted to highlight this really good piece of legislation. It is a positive step in the right direction. And that has to do with school choice. This is a key plank in the Republican Party platform. This is something that the governor supports, that's come out and supported it. It's something Senator Blake Johnson's bill in the House, and I wanted to have him on so we could talk about it. It is SB 620. It is a school choice pilot program out of or for Pulaski County, rather. So the bill would establish a new scholarship choice program for students in Pulaski County. $3.5 million would be set aside to fund the scholarships. Low-income students that qualify for free/reduced lunch would be eligible for the scholarships to be used at a private school in Pulaski County. Up to 500 scholarships could be funded through the program. This is a good bill. It increases a parent's choice for the best education for their child. There are no mandates that a student participate. School choice long-term should increase a person's economic freedom with less dependence on government schooling. And this is something that certainly is aiming to do just that. And that's why it is a positive piece of legislation. So I do know we're supposed to be talking with State Representative Ken Bragg tomorrow about this. And so if we are not able to secure Senator Blake Johnson this morning, maybe we will. We will see what happens. So I will tell you this: it's been a fascinating. It's been kind of a rough day, actually. Oh man, I know you guys. Some of you are just having your first sips of coffee, but for me personally, things were a little hectic this morning. The podcast for the first hour is going to be completely screwed up in terms of length and time and that sort of thing, because we had to, we had a complete internet provider outage at our home studio based back in Northeast Arkansas. It is, it's sad that that's the case. Hang on. Let me see here. Yeah. So it's actually pretty sad that that's the case because we had, everything planned, everything ready to go. But when we lost the internet, we also lost our phones. And I'm stranded here in Little Rock. And so what I had to do was I'm sitting here. I'm like, okay, well, so we have no internet. We have no way to get the signal to our affiliates. So what am I going to do? And I'm thinking, well, I guess I'm just going to have to sit here and wait. And I guess about 6:05, 6:10 rolls around. And I'm thinking, well, wait a second. I've got it. I felt like Marty McFly. Okay, so I hear Senator Blake Johnson was in the prayer caucus, so we'll get him on the program here in just a minute. I felt like Marty McFly at the end of the Back to the Future 1, when he's like, oh, wait a second, I got a time machine right here. So I'm sitting here, I'm like, wait a second, I'm in Little Rock, and I'm here at the Answer Studios, 101.1 FM The Answer, and I could at least do the show for them, just for that show. So I had, figured out how to get the board live, and then we talked for a little bit, and then the internet came back on, and here we are. So that's kind of how my day has been going, just so you know. Anyway, but we're gonna get Blake Johnson on here in just a moment. What else do we have here? Let me see here. I see that the University of Arkansas basketball coach, Mike Anderson, he has been given he's being shown the door, if you will. Hey, I tell you this. One thing I'd like to say is, did you see where we have the President of the United States? This is so good to say. The President of the United States, Donald Trump, is urging the court to strike down the entire Obamacare healthcare law. Can you believe this? This is awesome. This is great news. This is fantastic news. So a lower court's already struck it down, and now the Trump Justice Department says they agree with the lower court's ruling. They're encouraging the court to do the same thing. This is fantastic. Now, in the meantime, Arkansas, that has expanded Medicaid, that wouldn't exist without Obamacare. A lot of people are wondering, well, what would happen if that were the case? But people are also wondering what's going to happen with Arkansas's program because of the Arkansas Works and the work requirements. Right now, there is a court that's trying to decide whether or not Arkansas Works work requirements are constitutional or not, or are illegal or not. So that's a whole nother can of worms. Because they're about to pass the funding for it this year, and there may be a court decision that may say that you can't even do the work requirements, and that's what you've got. You've got some moderate Republicans who've come on board with the work requirements that may not really support the program at all without the work requirements. You know what I mean? So it'll be very interesting to see what's going on. This Andy Davis, Michael Wickline piece program work ruling awaited. That's pretty interesting. Governor vague on the next step of things. So hang on 1 second. Let's see here. What do we have here? Who do we have here? Is this Blake? All right, Blake Johnson. Hang on 1 second. We're live on the radio, and I'm going to get you in our system, one man show here, and then we're gonna. Okay, so 1 second. Let me get him in the system here, and we're going to turn this up. Press that button, and we should have Blake Johnson. Blake, are you there?
Yes, sir. How are you, Paul?
I'm doing good. Hey, I'm sorry about that. How was the prayer caucus?
It was good. I apologize. This is a little bit longer than normal.
Hey, so. You know what? That's. I think everybody's been somewhere where a prayer is lasting just a little too long.
Absolutely.
If we're honest about it. So, Senator Blake Johnson, I wanted to have you on. I want to highlight this bill that you got. It is SB 620, School Choice Pilot Program. Tell me about it.
It's the Capital Promise Scholarship, and it'll help approximately 500 children in Pulaski County and their parents have a choice to attend a private school if they so choose, and if they feel like they're in a public setting that they don't fit. So and it's the governor's discretionary funds that he'll be using. It's not funds that would go to the public schools, and it's just the pilot, and it gives, they have to take a norm reference test, and it's they track their GPAs, and it'll if they have a 2.5 on graduation, if a student is in there, they can go to a Institute of Higher Education in Pulaski County with $5,000 scholarship. So this also from K through 8, grade K through 8, gives 80% of the foundation funding, and from 9 through 12, it gives 100% of the foundation funding and scholarship. So
that's awesome. This is a great first step. I think this is going to really, because I've talked to some people that, they believe in school choice, but they think the schools back home where they are, everything's going fine. But then you look at some of these lower socioeconomic situations, and you don't want kids to be confined just based on their zip code. I mean, and this is a step in the right direction. Now, this used to be something, Senator Blake Johnson, this used to be something, school choice, when it was first, thought up. This was something that got bipartisan support. Democrats and Republicans thought this was a good idea. Yet the Democrats 2 days ago have a big press conference in the old Supreme Court room, and they're saying that this is a terrible idea. So why do you think they're so opposed to this, Senator Johnson?
I don't understand it. They have touted it as racial in nature, and it has nothing to do with race at all. It has to do with socioeconomic and giving hope and opportunity to families and a choice that of their choosing, no matter what color. Those folks need a choice.
So you think? So they're saying that this is somehow trying to punish black schools. Is that what they're saying?
Well, I didn't get to attend. I had another meeting at the time, but that's the tone that I received in that.
Wow. Well, it's just really sad because that's not at all. And, we have this education system that, it's producing, it produces good results, but I think it's also producing bad results and so this is an idea to say, hey, let's try something new. I personally think, much like the states of Arkansas, or I'm sorry, the states of this country, they're supposed to be little laboratories of experimentation. Now, that rarely happens anymore. I mean, there are still a few instances of it, but the federal government kind of gets everybody into line by giving our own money back to us with strings attached. But here with these local school districts, I would love to see these local school districts be able to do these different ideas to see if it works or not, and then maybe it catches on and it will spread. And I think the Democrats are afraid that this idea will spread to other counties.
Even in a succeeding school, a student can feel that it doesn't fit, and the parent and student should have a choice to transfer if he needs to be, even in a successful school and a productive school. And it's not just about failing schools or in a bad situations. It's the child may not fit, and this may allow the child to flourish in a different setting. So it's really about personal choice. It's about personal freedom. I mean, this is a freedom issue. Yes. Yes.
Man, that's fantastic. We're talking with Senator Blake Johnson. He's a Republican from Corning. Let me ask you this. SB 620, when do you think you're going to run this bill out of the Senate Education Committee, I'm assuming?
They have a pretty extensive docket. I'm going to try to run it today if I can. So, because we're getting close to the end, I'll probably try to run it today.
Okay, and so they meet today, and I guess they're going to meet like 10 o'clock this morning.
10 o'clock, yes.
Okay, wow, that'll be interesting. I will be. I'm sorry, you know me. I mean, covering the news is my job, and covering controversial stuff is my job. It'll be very interesting to see what the people have to say who are signed up against this. Now, and that's why I wanted to have you on as well, because anytime you have this kind of reaction from the Democrats, from the left, it can be hard to stand up to the pressure. Okay. And so that's why I think this is good. I'm very, very pleased. I think the people are pleased to hear that Governor Asa Hutchinson is supportive of this. And I know you got support in the Senate, and down at the House end, you got State Representative Ken Bragg. Now, how did this happen, Senator Johnson? I mean, how did you guys come up with this specific idea?
We had, Ken and I had filed a bill that was it was similar, but it was based on tax credits, and this is the idea that the governor had over a period of time, is to try to make it a pilot program and to test the success. And this has a lot more measurable features in it that the Department of Ed will be helping in. So, I mean, it's similar in nature, but it's a lot more trackable, and that way it can be measurable. So
yeah, I think that's good. And it's a small step. It's like, hey, one small step, one small step in Pulaski County, but it could be the beginning of a lot more freedom for parents across the state of Arkansas. And man, I'm really, really excited that this is being run, because this is a key plank of the Republican platform, Blake.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And I appreciate the opportunity to come and talk about it on your program today.
All righty. Well, hey, I think that's the committee I'm going to go to today, so maybe I'll see you there.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you,
all right.
Paul. Have a good day.
Yes, sir. You too. That's Senator Blake Johnson, everybody. And again, that bill, SB 620, the school choice pilot program for Pulaski County. Again, the bill would establish a new scholarship school choice program for students. Let's see here. In Pulaski County, $3.5 million would be set aside to fund the scholarships. Low-income students that qualify for free and reduced lunch would be eligible for the scholarships to be used at private school. Up to 500 scholarships could be funded through the program. And this would, again, increase parents' choice for the best education for their child. There are no mandates, so no student has to participate. And the school choice, of course, long-term increases economic freedom, less dependence on government schooling, or less dependence on, government edicts and mandates that, hey, you're born in this zip code, so you've got to shop at Walmart. You're born in this zip code, so you've got to shop at Kroger. Maybe you want the freedom to go send your child where you want to send your child, right? And that's if you're down with the whole public schooling system. All right, so we're going to take a break, going to reset here, and be back here in just a moment. This is Conduit News Radio, the intersection of conservative ideas and reality, and we will be back here in just a moment.
Russellville-based firearms manufacturer Omega are making clones of the most notable German firearms in the world. These delayed rotor-lock firearms have been and are currently used by law enforcement and military worldwide. At Omega, they manufacture their guns right here in Arkansas and produce the best reproduction in the marketplace that comes with a complete 5-year warranty. At Omega, they take firearm manufacturing seriously and offer discounts to active and retired law enforcement. Whether you're using Omega firearms to defend the public, defend your family, or for target practice, Omega has your back. For pricing, go to omega-guns.com. That's omega-guns.com. Are you a conservative-minded young person and want to let the world know about it? Are you tired of rolling your eyes as your professor regurgitates progressive, PC, neo-Marxist nonsense? Then you should interview on Conduit News Radio's Young Conservative segment and tell us about why you believe the way you do. Tell us how you came to be a conservative and what are your views on government. Now, if you're worried that your neo-Marxist professor may also be a right-wing talk radio listening masochist, then names can be changed to protect the innocent. It's the Conduit News Radio Conservative Future segment. To be interviewed, call 870-275-9799. That's 870-275-9799. If you're like me, you believe that small business is the heart of Arkansas's economic engine, and it should be viewed that way by the politicians in Little Rock. Conduit for Commerce also believes, like you and I believe, policies that achieve less regulation and lower taxation help small business in Arkansas thrive. Other policies like small, constitutionally consistent government and reducing citizen dependency on government keeps it from growing and expanding its influence on our daily lives. Conduit for Commerce works every day to educate the general public and legislators on these important priorities in the name of Arkansas small business. By the way, contributions to Conduit for Commerce are tax deductible. Log on now to conduitforcommerce.org and click on Contact Us on the right side of the page. That's conduitforcommerce.org. Go there now and learn the facts on protecting small business in Arkansas.
Yes, to answer your question, Hillary Clinton definitely needs to be concerned.
Yeah, we've got this Twitter right now up on our screen at conduitnews.com, facebook.com/conduitnews. It's a Twitter of the Twitter feed of James Comey, and yesterday he tweeted a photo of himself. I think that's him in a forest with really tall trees, looking up at the sky, and he's saying so many questions. And I'm pretty sure Lindsey Graham. I saw that Lindsey Graham retweeted that and said, "Yeah, we've got a lot of questions," meaning for you, James. So he's another one that needs to be worried, doesn't he?
No question about it. Look, this illegal dossier, hoax, witch hunt, scam against this country and president has been fully exposed now, and this is the reason why they need to be worried, and especially call me the bad cop, because what you have here...
Order. In the name of public safety, order. This meeting of the Arkansas State Licensing Board governing state licensing boards is called to order in the name of public safety. What's on the agenda for the day?
We have before us today, per our summons, a representative from the Arkansas State Licensing Board governing cosmetology, cosmetologist, and all things hair care and beauty.
Right. Of course, I remember this. In the name of public safety, ma'am, please state your name for the record, and thank you for appearing before us today.
Yes, my name is Cosmo Glamour Gazette, and I'm here in response to a letter our state board received claiming we're in violation of the Arkansas State Licensing Board governing state licensing boards. In the letter, you claim that our licensing board is in violation of your rules and regulations because we have failed to, quote, pay tribute, end quote, and therefore have not been granted a license by the Arkansas State Licensing Board governing licensing boards to, quote, shake down the Arkansans who have an interest in cosmetology, end quote.
In the name of public safety, order. Yes, Miss Gazette, we sent you that letter because you have not obtained our approval in the form of a license from our board to distribute licenses to the professional class your board strives to protect. In the name of public safety, of course.
Of course.
So, in the name of public safety, and just so we can get this for the record, you do admit and agree with our board, the Arkansas State Licensing Board governing state licensing boards, that you have not obtained a license, thereby revealing your board of cosmetology to be operating outside our rules, regulations, and authority?
Well, sir, I'm not sure our board agrees that we need a license from your board to continue to shake down, to look out for the public safety of Arkansans.
In the name of public safety.
In the name of public safety.
Well, it seems we are at a bit of an impasse if we are not in agreement that your board owes us tribute.
Sir, maybe we could ask and see if there's a bureaucrat in the house.
Ah, yes. Yes, that would shed some light on things. A bureaucrat. Yeah, in the name of public safety, is there a bureaucrat in the house? We need someone to resuscitate and confirm our authority as the Arkansas State Licensing Board governing state licensing boards.
Here.
Ah, yes. Oh, good. Come to the end of the table in the name of public safety and state your name for the record, please.
Yes, I am Despot Ringleader, the head of the Bureau governing all state bureaus, and it is my testimony the Arkansas State Licensing Board governing state licensing boards does have the authority to demand tribute in this situation and will provide in exchange a license to say they can continue to operate in the name of public safety.
It's hard to argue when the public safety is put at risk. Very well. We will consider Mrs. Ringleader's testimony as truth, and we will pay tribute in the name of public safety, of course.
In the name of public safety.
In the name of public safety.
All right, folks, welcome back to the program. Hey, big news out of the Senate yesterday. You had Senator Scott Flippo passing his bill to clarify gun rights. That now means the resolution is passed out of the House and the Senate. Huge. We are a constitutional carry state. Here is Senator Scott Flippo from the floor yesterday. Listen to this.
All right, members, so what this does, it just concurs with a recent appeals court decision, which was Taft versus the state of Arkansas, and basically what that says is that Arkansas is a constitutional carry state, and you have the right to carry openly or concealed with or without a permit.
Any questions? Senator Flowers.
So why do we need to have this resolution?
So, Senator, because there's still a lot of confusion on what our state law is, and so this just says that this, just General Assembly and this Senate body concurs with this appeals court decision.
Well, will the vote reflect those who do not agree with your Senate resolution?
You are welcome to vote against it, Senator.
Thank you.
Any other questions, Senator Elliott?
I appreciate you bringing you're bringing your a resolution. But I think you said it clarifies that people have the right to open carry.
Yes, ma'am.
But a resolution cannot carry that power.
And this is a non-binding resolution. This just says that we agree with the recent appeals court decision, which says that Arkansans do have the right to open carry.
Well, so.
And this is just a concurrent of that.
So, I'm sorry, say it again.
We're just concurring with that, with that recent appeals court decision.
And so, if we are concurring with it, though, this is a matter of people understanding, because somebody thought somehow, the question I got about this, thought somehow we were passing something that had the weight of like being a bill.
No, this is no different than...
Well, I know, but it's not me, because people out there need to understand that this is not a bill.
Sure.
And it doesn't carry the weight of legislation. We're just agreeing with somebody, and I just want to be sure that's clarified.
That's exactly what a resolution is, Senator Elliott.
Yeah, but once again, I'm telling you, because I do resolutions and I know that, I'm just saying, while we are having this little back and forth, I'm not asking for me. But you and I are agreeing on something, so let's agree and let it go, okay?
This is a unanimous, no, this is, I don't know that there's any disagreement on what the intent of any resolution is.
I'm good.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Anyone want to speak for or against the resolution? Not all in favor of the resolution, say aye. I'm sorry, Senator Flowers. Let me call the vote. All in favor of the resolution, say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. No. Chair rules that the ayes have it. The resolution is adopted. I see how many. I need to see 5 hands. I see 4 hands. Mark, did you? All right. I got the 5 hands. We'll call the roll.
You ready? Ballinger, Bledsoe, Bond,
all right, so
Caldwell,
there you have it. You see now they call the roll.
Cheatham.
And we're running out of time
Cheatham,
here, but the final vote was 24. Let me see
Clark,
what the final vote was. 24
Cooper,
yes votes, yes votes, and 5 no votes from Democrats. There were 6 non-voting. And this passes, and now Arkansas is agreeing with the legislative branch providing clarity, agreeing with the circuit court decision about open carry, concealed carry without a permit is fine in this state. And now it's time for the Attorney General, in my opinion, to take some action and clarify her previous opinions now that this is the case. Folks, can you feel the positivity? Can you feel this is something good that happened here yesterday? Thank you to all the legislators for the way you voted.